Introducing a man who can't wait for Saturday because, in his words, quote, Preakness, more like Preakness, am I right? He's there to get his party on. His name is Glenn Clark.
Good morning. It is Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn, of course, and that's Paul. You know him. And there's another young man on your screen this morning who it's been a while since you've seen, and you're going to be seeing more of in the future because his name is Griffin Bass. And Griffin, how long ago was it that you were working and helping it? Like, I don't even remember exactly what you were doing here, other than you were just around.
Yeah, it was.
We got to turn you up for sure.
I was just, I was producing for your show. I did some of the bat around, just every now and then. Whenever you didn't have somebody available.
It was just sort of the backup plan to the backup plan to back up the backup plan, if you will.
Yes.
And Griffin has been brought back into the fold, and Griffin will be taking over. As you guys know, Paul is going to be departing us come Monday. And Griffin will be moving into that role, and we're excited about that. Griffin, your thumbnail, you're graduating from Towson.
That's
what have
correct.
you been doing?
I've been doing a lot of broadcast stuff with Towson, and just kind of that was an internship, and so that's very generic and broad. A lot of broadcast stuff. Yeah, I've been filming all their sports. I've been calling some games for Towson.
Yep.
And it's been really fun, and I'm glad I can kind of get my foot into the door professionally now, and hopefully continue a career in this field.
All right. It's not an overwhelming. We got to step up. We got to step up to the plate. You need long walks on the beach. You need to tell me about what it is that you like. You enjoyed a good fun. I just need a little bit more from you when it comes to. On your Twitter profile, it says you're a dodgeball national champion.
Yeah, that's correct. I am a dodgeball national champion.
You're going to need to explain that a little bit.
Okay, so I played club dodgeball at Towson, and Towson dodgeball team.
Mm-hmm.
We're really good.
I did hear that there was a national. Now, what year was this?
That was my freshman year that we won, and then then there was COVID, so it wasn't a 2020 championship. There wasn't a 2021 championship because we're just a club sport,
right?
So it's very limited.
Yeah, they didn't prioritize it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So then we were back this year, and we ended up losing in the quarterfinals.
No, you guys suck. What the hell happened?
It was disappointing.
Mostly your fault, right?
It probably kind of was because I was the president of the club.
Ooh.
So do you have a cannon? You just fire BBs at people?
Yeah, I did for a while, and then I hurt my shoulder. But I was, I was
Seems like
trying
you're blaming the injury for your failures, Griffin.
No, I'm not trying to. We had a good we had a really good, solid team. Our core of seniors that we had this year really stepped up. We wouldn't have been able.
Who did you beat in the championship game in your freshman year?
Grand Valley State.
The
Matthew Judon went there.
I don't remember their nickname.
They're the Lakers.
The who?
The Lakers.
The Lakers.
Yeah.
You beat the Lakers?
Yes, they were remarkable. 6-time defending champs too. It was a huge deal.
Wow. Like Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Right, anything is possible. And who did you lose to this year?
We lost to Cincinnati.
Oh God! You should be ashamed of yourself.
We should. We lost in overtime, and it was.
You mean Joe Burrow kicked the Ravens' ass twice, and you couldn't get any revenge at all?
We tried really hard.
Pathetic.
We tried really hard.
Pathetic, Griffin. So can you dodge a wrench?
Yes.
And you've attempted?
No, I haven't attempted, but I mean,
Jesus.
I know I can because I can dodge a ball.
All right. Griffin's
the other way around.
Griffin's still moving into the role, but he will be taking over on Monday, just in time for him to go away for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So this really timed out quite well. Is that Griffin's taking over the role just in time for him to leave for a couple of weeks, but you'll see a little bit of him next week, and then in a couple of weeks he will fully take over as the new producer of the show. We're happy to have him, and he'll be growing into the role. I mean, Paul never really got there, but Griffin will grow into it eventually.
Yeah, I suck.
He'll grow into it eventually. All right, a lot to do on the program today. Coming up in just a few minutes, our friend Larry Collmus, Mount St. Joe's own. He's going to join us. He, of course, is the race caller for NBC, and will be calling the Preakness after he called the Derby a couple of weeks ago. We will catch up with Larry. Later on this hour, we will chat with Chris Kuhlmeyer. Chris Kuhlmeyer is the softball coach at UMBC. They are back in the NCAA Tournament. They've had a hell of a run since Chris Kuhlmeyer took over, and they are playing Duke tomorrow on the road in the NCAA softball tournament. He'll tell us a little bit about the Retrievers And then also a little bit later on in the program, we will catch up with our friend Brian Billick, former Super Bowl winning head coach of the Ravens. Of course, this week they announced the 30 for 30 about the 2000 Ravens, and he'll be back in Baltimore at the Meyerhoff on Monday night for the event they're hosting there, presumably in relation to that 30 for 30. So all of that coming up on the program this morning. After all of that, coming up at about 11:40, will be Weekend at Bookies. Weekend at Bookies is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Every other Thursday, we get you ready for the weekend of sports betting. Weekend at Bookies. We will have Andrew Stecca give his Stetson figures. We'll have our buddy Brad Kronthal from Alloy Sports tell us about the baseball and basketball lines for the weekend. That's all coming up, 11:40 a.m., Weekend at Bookies, and then every Tuesday morning at 11:40 a.m., Simply the Bets. Okay, now, we've been waiting for it, and we finally – oh, no, we didn't. No news. No news still. Still no nothing. So,
I can't believe it.
So I guess it wasn't about the $4 tickets then. I guess the whoever said, hey, when they end the $4 ticket promotion at 9 o'clock, maybe they'll make the announcement. Nope. Dan Connolly gave updated odds yesterday at the Athletic and still said that he thought Friday was the favorite for Adley Rutschman to make his debut. At this point, I find that very hard to believe. And I'm split between the two. It's not just that I find it very hard to believe. It's that if it is true, it seems to be a pretty significant failure on their part to not be able to capitalize on it. Even if they were to announce today, after today's game, hey, by the way, Adley Rutschman will be here tomorrow, they are giving such a minimal heads up that they are making it more difficult on Orioles fans to be a part of the event. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It just would be a mistake in how they played it out for it to happen this way. On top of that, if it doesn't happen, we run into that would you rather scenario from yesterday where it's, do you bring him up on the road just because you feel the need for him to be here? It's not smart. That's not good business. There's just so much bad that's been involved with this, and I'm not trying to be terribly critical. I'm not trying to beat them up for the sake of beating them up because, again, I don't know what the story is. No one does because they've been so radio silent about it. And that, to me, is the far bigger problem. You know what's going on. Do your best. And if you want to believe that the answer is related to the Super 2 date, then this plays right into that hand, that it could be specifically about the Super 2 date. And that would be a reason why they wouldn't want to say it. They wouldn't want to come out and just acknowledge, hey, we're waiting to try to get through the Super 2 status and get another year pre-arbitration for Adley Rutschman. They definitely wouldn't want to come out and say that if that's what's going on. So it allows for there to be conspiracy theories, allows for Jonathan Mayo to come on yesterday and say, well, I think it might be Super 2. And me to say, boy, I don't want to believe it, and it seems insane to me that you'd be screwing with Adley Rutschman, but I don't know what the real answer is if it ain't that.
He's 24 years old.
What are we doing?
Not here.
What are we doing?
And based on his last few games, he's Adley freaking Rutschman. He should be here. He should have been here Monday. He could have been here last year. If he was healthy, you claim he would have been on the opening day roster. He should be here now. And if he's not here by tomorrow, then I have to. And if he's not here before June 1st, I have to believe it's a money thing.
I still don't know what the date is. I still don't know what the Super 2 date is. I just don't.
June 1st.
Well, we really should. And we should try to get an answer on that. I just don't even know who the person is to ask about what the date is. It's never been something that I've dealt with before. It's so different than the service time date, and it's so unique and so nonsensical because, as we discussed yesterday, if Adley Rutschman is what he is, you should be trying to pay him far before he gets to that point. If Adley Rutschman is what we think he is, you should be trying to work on buying out arbitration years now. And every day that goes by, you're allowing more people to wonder, is he not what we thought he was? If he was, why isn't he here? This is a problem. Look, if Adley Rutschman comes up tomorrow and Adley Rutschman rips the cover off the ball for the next 3 months, we will long have forgotten about this. But in the meantime, it is an unnecessary. I'm not going to use the word crisis again because everybody got so mad at me when I used it with the Ravens wide receiver thing. And on their website, they were all lambasting me. I'm not going to use the word crisis because I try to use it tongue-in-cheek and people aren't able to play along. I understand it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of life. Anybody who listens to this show understands that I know that sports are just sports. Within that context, you've created an unnecessary crisis. There is no need for there to be this much furor and panic and hubbub and hullabaloo, and throw some more words out there, Griffin. Step in. Come on, man. Look, you pull out your thesaurus. There's no reason for you to create this Panic at the Disco.
It's jarring, is what it is. I mean, because
you could have done better.
Yeah,
you could have done better. You could have done better. It's the yes and. You got to work on your improv skills.
Okay.
All right, yes and.
Gotcha.
It's just not necessary. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, John, I promise I'm going to talk about the Nick Saban thing before the show is over today. But because the Orioles did play yesterday, let's allow our 1 minute man to tell us if there was anything that mattered. It's brought to you by the Baltimore Police. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police. Make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good. BPDrecruit.org. Here's Paul Valley.
All right, so last night's game, you saw the return of Jorge Mateo, his second straight game with Austin Hayes, who then recorded 3 hits. And with these guys back in the lineup, the Orioles are starting to get more competitive. Jordan Lyles absolutely shoved last night after a weird first inning where 2 runs scored on a wild pitch on a ball that maybe Adley blocks, but Ben Boom couldn't block it, and then Ben Boom threw it away for the second run to score. But Lyles doesn't give up anything after that. I think he finished the game retiring 12 straight, went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, no walks, 8 Ks. The offense, they made it interesting. They got it to 3-2, but then went quietly in the 9th. Look, what matters is that with Hayes getting back in the lineup, with Mateo and Arias getting back in the lineup, hopefully Mountcastle this weekend, the team's getting more competitive again. And the Yankees have the best record in baseball, so you're already up against it when you were coming into the series, especially when you weren't exactly the picture of health. But you're hanging with them. You lost that first game 6-2. That was basically over in the 4th inning when you were down 4-0. But then you make it back to games. It's been much more competitive.
All right. By the way, I guess we need to pull up the level on Paul's mic. Apparently, it was, I don't know what the story was, but look, I am. Talk for a second, Paul. Yeah, you sound fine. You sound fine to me. I don't know what the story is. I don't know, but you sound fine to me. A couple of things. One, Jordan Lyles. You know, I'm going to stop short of revelation, right? Because it's not as if he's been brilliant, but he's definitely been better than his career ERA would have suggested he would be since he arrived in Baltimore. The one thing that I always say, while we try to make Trey Mancini some sort of commodity that he can't be, I've said this a billion times, pitching can always be a commodity. Now, there's a limit to it. Nobody's giving up anything of significance for Jordan Lyles. That will not occur. It just won't. There's zero world in which somebody's going to give up something of significance for Jordan Lyles. But would they give up something for Jordan Lyles? I mean, anything at all. And the answer is maybe. Right now, Jordan Lyles is pitching to a 4.11 ERA and 1.39 WHIP. And while, again, he's done basically what, as much as we could have reasonably asked him to, which is pitch, give some innings, pitch, he hasn't overwhelmed on the whole. He hasn't been great on the whole. He's just been kind of better than we thought. We thought this was a 5.39 ERA type of guy.
Jordan Lyles is actually exactly what I thought he was going to be. Because if you look at his numbers, the ERA from last year doesn't tell the whole story. Because, like I said, many times before, in 23 outings, he had a 3.20 ERA. And in 9 outings, he had a 12.4
Yeah, but
ERA.
they all count.
They all count.
Yeah.
But my whole overall point is he's going to give you 2 really good starts, and then he's going to give you a dud. And then he's going to give you 2 more really good starts. And that's basically what he's done to this point this year. And that's how you have a 5.15 ERA, but still managed to throw 180 innings.
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if Jordan Lyles will continue pitching to a 4-1, or if that'll balloon. One more bad start will end up the one bad start ends up being so bad that it balloons it up over 5. I don't know. I don't know how this will go. But if he can dip it below 4, you could get something potentially for Jordan Lyles. But again, be reasonable about it. Something. Not something of value. Not something that adds, just something for Jordan Lyles. And if you're going to put Matt Harvey into the rotation anyway in 2 months, you could trade Jordan Lyles and just stick Matt Harvey in his rotation spot to finish out the year for you. Again, you're acknowledging what it is that you're doing. You're a bad baseball team. You're going to be bad. Somebody's got to pitch. Somebody's got to show up every 5th day and pitch. Now, you also have to figure out what that looks like inevitably when Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall get here. And, it's one thing for us to say, hey, by the way, they did announce that Spencer Watkins is scheduled to make his next start on Sunday. It's one thing to say, hey, Spencer Watkins' spot will go to one of them eventually. Probably the case. And you also have to acknowledge that, as much as we knock on every piece of wood we can find, the likelihood is that somebody else will get hurt. So some of this can kind of take care of itself to some extent. But if you can get anything for Jordan Lyles, you try to get anything at all for him. And he's pitching right now as if he's a guy that maybe you could get, again, minimally something for as you get closer to the deadline. That's just about all I have to say about it. The Orioles will wrap up the series with the Yankees this afternoon. Try to avoid a 4-game sweep. 12:30 first pitch for today's game. It's Jordan Montgomery and the ace, Bruce Zimmerman, on the mound for the Birds as the Orioles finish up their series against the Yankees, and then we continue to play the waiting game. By the way, Adley Rutschman hit another home run last night. Went a little Apo Taco last night, huh?
He also had a single and a walk and threw out a base stealer.
Well, how about that? And he played back-to-back nights at catcher?
Yes, he did. Back-to-back games with a dinger. Let's leave him down.
I mean, they play again today?
Yes, and tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday.
So how many games has he caught this week?
The first 2.
Because they didn't play on Monday, right, so he caught Tuesday, Wednesday. Did he catch on Sunday?
He did. He caught DL Hall.
So if we set up Sunday through Saturday, if we try to do this over the span of a week, right? Like we can.
So he caught last Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Then he caught Thursday, Friday.
Right.
Then he caught Sunday. And he's caught Tuesday, Wednesday.
So if we declare that last night was the final night of the week, it would go Thursday through Wednesday. So that would be 6 games from Thursday through Wednesday in the span of a week. He caught every game except for Saturday.
Yep.
I mean, it kind of blows up that whole thing, right? Kind of blows up that debate, doesn't it? It smells more and more like Super 2.
That's what it looks like to me.
Smells more and more like it.
If he were going to come up tomorrow, how have you not announced it yet?
That's the infuriating part. It's the infuriating part.
Which makes me think he's not
again, at this point, the argument is it doesn't even make sense for him to come up tomorrow because from a business standpoint, why would it be tomorrow? I'm so frustrated by all of it. Anyway, Orioles wrap up the series with the Yankees tonight, and then they host the Rays this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, of course, not quite as much excitement, unfortunately, because there's no Derby winner, but it is still the Preakness. I'm going to be there in a dumb hat, and it's always a pleasure to welcome back one of our own here in Baltimore. He is the race caller for NBC. You will hear him again on Saturday for the broadcast of the Preakness. He is the great Larry Collmus, the pride of Mount St. Joe, and he's with us now here on GCR. Larry, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up with you, sir. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Absolutely. Go Gales. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be back in town and looking forward to the Preakness minus the Derby winner, but we're still going to have a lot of fun, and it's always great to be here.
Unfortunately, this is the part of the conversation where I'll always have to shame you for your baseball fandom. Remind everyone you are not an Orioles fan. You are a fan of the
team battling the Orioles right now for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, we're supposed to stink, Larry. How's your team do?
Yeah, I don't know why we stink so much, but we do. And the worst part is that the Yankees are good. We can both agree on that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to do something about that. One of our teams. I mean, I grew up an Orioles fan, obviously being down there, but my many years at Suffolk Downs in Boston, I sort of it just stuck to me,
I'll never be okay with that.
Do?
I'll never be okay with that, Larry. There'll never be a day where I'll be okay with it. But I appreciate you anyway. Let's go back before we go to this race. Let's go back 2 weeks because we didn't have the opportunity to catch up with you. When did you realize what was happening during the course? Like, did you start noticing it ahead of time, and maybe say, hey, I don't want to say anything because this is an 80-1 horse that we're talking about. When did you notice what was going on?
No, I pretty much noticed it right when you heard it.
Really?
It was like one of those situations where you're, you see this battle that you expected to happen, Epicenter and Zandon, and
yep.
And here they are, and you're like, okay, and Simplification's kind of close. He's not too far behind, and then all of a sudden you look inside, and a lot of times, and most of the times, the late rallies come up on the outside of the leaders. And I see this red and white blur coming up the rail. And it was luckily Rich Strike being the only horse in the race that had red and white silks. I knew immediately it was him, but I didn't see until the very, moment that I said it, that he was actually coming that quickly. It definitely was a wild finish to that race. And, he was, literally the last horse you'd expect because he wasn't even in the race the day before.
Right. Correct. Did you believe did you fear that your eyes were deceiving you at all? Because I'll tell you later, and I'm not. I tried it one day when Gaffigan used to bring us all out, and I can do play-by-play, but I cannot call a horse race. I have incredible just admiration for the skill set that you have because it is such a very difficult thing to do. Did you worry at all that your eyes were deceiving you? Because just sitting at a bar watching it, I was worried that I could not believe what my eyes were seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just fortunate in the fact that, the red and white colors were so prominent and that, it was, not a muddy track. Also was not sunny, which is good because you can get a lot of shadows along the inside there at the end of the Derby. And that could have affected things quite a bit too. So there were a few things going my way as far as that goes. But it was just I knew it was him. The second I saw him, It was just a matter of how's this possible? How could this horse do that?
I remember when Tom called "Mind That Bird," right? It was almost incredulous, right? Like, mind that bird.
Yeah, this was even a bigger long shot.
It's even more insane than that, no question about it. Larry Collmus is with us. Larry, is it tough? Can you describe for the entire sport the disappointment? I get it. There is no obligation from anyone in Rich Strike's camp to have run in the Preakness, but knowing you are excited, you only get 3 of these every year. This is the second one. But can you speak on behalf of the sport as to what the disappointment was that they chose not to turn around and run Rich Strike in the Preakness?
I mean, I'm personally was disappointed, when I heard the news because obviously you want the Derby winner at the Preakness. It's what it's all about. He's the storyline, especially after, pulling off that 80-1 upset. He became like a cult hero. Everybody was like, oh my God, here's this horse, that racing, needs a positive story with this 80-1 shot winning. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's not coming, so it was very disappointing. But, on the other hand, you have to, I don't train the horse. I'm not around the horse every day. And this guy, thinks that that's the right move for this particular racehorse. So, you can't get too upset about it. But at the same time, it is disappointing.
I mean, obviously, Epicenter, after the run that he had in the Kentucky Derby and knowing this is a shorter race, is the deserving favorite going into Saturday. Is there, when you look at a race like this, how does the impact of the 2 weeks, do you think, does that impact a horse like Epicenter versus maybe some of the fresher horses that are racing in for this?
I think that's more of a case for the Belmont. I mean, we've seen time and time again where the Derby winner, we'll use Mind That Bird as an example.
Mm-hmm.
He was, 50-1, had less than expected chance to win the Derby. He wins the Derby. He comes back in the Preakness and he almost beats Rachel Alexandra. So I mean, they seem to keep that form that you see in the Derby 2 weeks later, and then the Belmont Stakes, all bets are off unless they're really good. So I think that's the beauty of the Triple Crown. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Epicenter had a big gap between the Louisiana Derby and the Kentucky Derby. I think it was 7 weeks or something like that. So I think he'll be a fresh horse, and I do think he is very much a deserving favorite. He made a really sharp move into a very fast pace in that race and was able to withstand Zandon down the stretch. So that I thought was very impressive on his part.
For those that weren't watching 2 Fridays ago, what do we need to know about Secret Oath? You make you bring up Rachel Alexandra. Is there a comparison to be made there?
Not yet. I don't think so. I think I don't know if she has the brilliance of Rachel Alexandra, but she's an awfully nice filly, and obviously she was super impressive in the Kentucky Oaks. She was impressive in the Arkansas Derby with that move that she made in that race too. So I think she's got a shot. She definitely fits. Speed figures wise, she might be a touch below the Epicenters, but we'll see. I mean, she's definitely an exceptional filly.
Is there any other the new horses that are jumping in? Is there any one that sort of jumps out the most to you, and you're prepared for them to be a significant story during the course of this race?
Yeah, I would say that would be the case for Creative Minister,
okay.
The horse trained by Kenny McPeak. I spent the winter down at Gulfstream Park working for TVG down there, analyzing racing and all that stuff, and he was highly touted in his first start down there, and he made a huge run that day to finish second over a racetrack in which front runners have a huge advantage. Then he comes back and he wins 2 races in a row after that. I think he's an exceptionally good horse who's improving very quickly, leaps and bounds, and if Epicenter doesn't bring his top game, I could see this horse being a big factor on Saturday.
Just another minute or two with Larry Collmus, of course, Baltimore native and the race caller for NBC. You, of course, hear him again on Saturday for the Preakness. Larry, as you know, we got changes afoot at Pimlico, and I know they're a little bit behind. There's a bit of a delay in getting things started, but we're still confident. As somebody who's been coming here for a long time that knows this city, how comfortable are you knowing what's going to happen with the future of the Preakness, that this is never going to be a topic that we're going to have to discuss again, you and I, in the coming years?
I don't know. It seems like every year there's discussion on what's going to happen, and hopefully everything is settled now, and it sounds like that the Preakness will remain in Baltimore at Pimlico, which I think is a really good thing. I mean, to me, that's part of the tradition. It's Baltimore's race, and I think that once we get a new Pimlico, I mean the old place, it's not that great. I think we all know that.
Yep.
It's out. It's I don't want to use the term dump because it's like our dump.
Correct. You're 100% right about that, by the way. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because I love the place, I love. I was the backup announcer there in 1986. I remember it well,
wow.
and so to me, it's one of those places where I would love for it to stay there, and hopefully that's going to be the case, and we'll go from there. But wherever the Preakness is, as long as NBC's covering it and they want me, I'll be there.
I know that's true, but I'm hoping that you're right about it. And then obviously, because of Rich Strike not being in the race, it has renewed the conversation about, hey, maybe we need to spread these races out. The weird part about that, Larry, is we literally have just watched 2 Triple Crown winners since you've taken over, right?
I know.
I know it's hard, but I think that's the point of this, is that it's supposed to be hard.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, and I know my colleague at NBC, Randy Moss, is like the complete opposite. He has been screaming for a change to the Triple Crown for years now, and I'm like, no, it's the tradition. this is how it's always been. I know the game has changed as far as how horses are trained and how much time they take between races, but that's the beauty of this, that it is that difficult. And all of a sudden, American Pharoah and Justify come along and prove that it takes an exceptional horse to do it, and they did it. So it's not impossible, and it makes it all the more exciting when a horse is able to pull off something like that.
I agree. It's tough for me because I do understand we have to do what's best by these horses. I get that, right? We need to protect the animals, but I don't know. I feel like people are capable of making the decisions as to what's best to protect the animals, and I'm pretty sure we saw specifically with American Pharoah, everything was all right. This can be done. It's possible that you can have it happen. At Larry Collmus on Twitter is how you follow him. Is the best storyline Wayne Lucas winning on Saturday, Larry? Is that the best possible storyline that we could get?
I think so.
Yeah.
Wayne Lucas is. It's funny. Like years and years and years ago, Wayne Lucas was kind of like the black hat, the bad guy, in racing, and now everybody loves him because he's 86, and and he's just an absolute great character, and great for the game. And I think it would be fantastic if Wayne is able to pull this off. Just think about the fact that when he won the Preakness with Codex, that was 42 years ago.
Unbelievable. That's unbelievable, man. That's incredible. All right, as I said, at Larry Collmus on Twitter is how you follow him. Larry, always a joy to hear your voice during these big races, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us as always. Look forward to seeing you out there on Saturday, all right?
Absolutely. We'll see you there.
Thanks, Larry. Larry Collmus from NBC, the pride of Mount St. Joe. Getting ready for Saturday's Preakness. Appreciate him taking the time for us here on GCR. Today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Make the most out of every day in a Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, we're gonna do a couple things, but one of them will be chat with Chris Kuhlmeyer, who is the softball coach at UMBC, and they're getting ready to go kick Duke's ass in the NCAA tournament tomorrow. We'll chat about that next. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable. Le champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman, diving into where his passion for baseball and for catching comes from and how he uses that passion to elevate those around him in the Orioles organization. Also inside, Bo Smolka takes a look at how the Ravens' 2021 draft picks can make progress in year 2, and Glenn Clark offers a very unique tribute to former rival Mike Krzyzewski that all Maryland fans can appreciate. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. It is a Thursday edition of the program. A little bit later on this morning, we will catch up with Brian Billick, of course, the former Super Bowl winning head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, and he'll tell us what we should be expecting. What are we going to get in the 30 for 30 about that team? We'll talk to Brian Billick about that later. All right, a couple of things quickly. One, if you missed it last night, Stan the Fan Charles and Gary Stein had a great chat with Towson Athletic Director Steven Eigenbrot. That's available right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Any of those places, you can find that show. Also, they did a show earlier this week sort of celebrating and talking about what's going on with the Bowie Bay Sox. Those shows available, again, right now in those locations as a good catch-up with Steven Eigenbrot, the new athletic director at Towson. As far as the Nick Saban thing, I probably should save this for when I have a little bit more time. Maybe I'll do something else and save that. I want to talk about it. I promise you I want to talk about it, but I think I just want to save it for when I have a little bit more time than we're going to have right now because we're going to catch up with Chris Kuhlmeyer. So I apologize. That will be coming. We will talk about the Nick Saban thing. Somebody asked me if I saw what Joe Burrow said. He was on the Full Send podcast. This is from Aaron. Do you see Joe Burrow talking about playing against the Ravens and how they talk? Do you feel like he is setting himself up to be pissing off anybody on that side? No. No, I don't. I think if anything, it's he's given the Ravens credit. I actually saw the clip being passed around, and I thought it was going to be controversial in some way. It's in no ways controversial. Like, you can be bothered by the fact that Joe Burrow... I thought there was something interesting that Joe Burrow said. Like, he was asked on this... I don't know anything about this podcast, but he was asked about sacks, and he said, you know, I don't think sacks are all that big of a deal. We treat every sack as though it's equal, but a third down sack is essentially meaningless. I'll take a third down sack in an attempt to make a play. I'll try to keep the play alive as long as I possibly can, and I'll do things. I'll take a sack on third down that I wouldn't take on second down, and yet we have no way of distinguishing that it was a third down sack that only happened because I kept the play alive for so long that eventually there was nothing else I could do but take the sack. And it was an interesting thought. Like, it was just an interesting comment from Joe Burrow, as we have heard in recent years, things like we put too much emphasis on sack numbers and that pressures and hits and things along those lines are just as valuable or can be just as valuable. And to some extent, that's probably true. Ultimately, getting a play that backs someone up 8 to 10 yards will always be a bit more valuable, but there's no way to differentiate within statistics whether it was an 8-yard loss on a sack or whether it was a sack where essentially it was at the line of scrimmage and just counts as a sack. Because those are two significantly different types of game-impacting plays, and yet they count the exact same way statistically. So it's interesting what Joe Burrow has to say. It's interesting. Far more interesting than him saying he likes playing against the Ravens. Cool. He likes playing against the Ravens. Neato. I mean, neato.
He didn't say anything other than the guy said.
No, he said nothing inflammatory.
He said you guys split last year. And he goes, no, we beat them both times. I threw for 500. He basically just said how the games went.
Right. Well, and then he said they like to talk, and you can get me to talk back. Like, I would think that would be that way in any rivalry type of game. So yeah, nothing about it that was in any way. And I say this, it wasn't really even all that interesting to me. I was disappointed by how many people were talking about it as if it was interesting, and then I saw the video, and I was like, no, it's just him talking about facing the Ravens. That's it. That's all it is. Nothing more than that. All right, our next guest getting ready for another trip to the NCAA tournament. They will be at Duke tomorrow. It's been a heck of a run since he has come to UMBC, and they've done an awful lot of winning. They are America East champions once again. He is the softball coach at UMBC. He's Coach Chris Kuhlmeyer, and he's back with us here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's good to talk to you again, man. Thank you for taking the time. Congratulations on being back in the tournament.
Hey, thanks, Glenn. It's awesome to be back on with you guys and everything. And, it's awesome to be on the bus right now, heading down to a regional and then continue to play softball for hopefully, more than just one more week.
No doubt, man. May that be the case. Let's talk about that, Coach, because as I say, this is kind of old hat for you guys at this point. You've done a ton of winning during your time at UMBC. It is now the importance of saying, hey, we've been here before, but it's time for us to win at this tournament. How do you talk about that?
We just tell them, like, look, we've been here before, just like you said. We've been here before. The lights are not bright on us anymore. I guess you could say, like, maybe they were the first time when you head out to Oklahoma and your first night game of the year and you're playing in front of 3,000 people. You don't get to do that very often. So I think for them, that it's growth and maturity, and like you said, it's not necessarily old hat, it's never get old, but they're definitely well prepared from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, and their mentality is that we're going in not expecting to hopefully win a goal, but we're going in expecting to do everything we can to run through this thing and live the play.
Hey, Coach, I apologize. I know you're on the bus, but we're running into a bit of a bad cell. We're going to try to get that fixed and get you into a better spot so that people can hear what you're saying. I don't want to miss out on what Coach Chris Kuhlmeyer is saying as he's talking about this team. The head coach of the softball program at UMBC. We're going to try to get that straightened out and see if we can't get him into a place where we can hear him a little bit better and continue this conversation from there as Chris Kuhlmeyer is with us here on GCR. Hey, today's show is also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. 61 self-service kiosks in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland, down in Hanover. It is the best place for all of the big events this month. You can watch, get your bets in, all of those things. Whether it's the UEFA Champions League final, the Indianapolis 500, the final round of the PGA Championship this Sunday, the big Gervonta Davis, Rolando Romero fight later on in the month. Whatever the event is, the place to watch it is the FanDuel Sportsbook, again, in the Live Casino Hotel. Email events@sportssocialmd.com in order to reserve your spot, whether you want a table or reclining chairs, whatever you're looking for one of these upcoming events. Email them right then. All right, let's go back. Again, I know he's on the bus, and I know that we scheduled this for a tough time as they're traveling, but Coach Chris Kuhlmeyer, can you hear me again?
Yeah, I hear you loud.
All right, we got you back this time. I like the sounds of that. So just because I'm afraid people might have missed everything you were saying, you were talking about having done those big early season matchups, going to Oklahoma, and now translating this to winning in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think, this is our third time doing this, and just the maturity and the experience of our program and the people that are in it, being there, being under these lights, playing these tough kind of matchups, it just leads to us having, more confidence going into each time we go to one of these. And I think, before when we were at Oklahoma, we were just happy to be there. Maybe the bright lights were a little bit brighter and everything. But I think last year going toe-to-toe with with Arizona for, half the game, and then we just kind of, we couldn't score. We didn't get a run across, but we were playing toe-to-toe with them for a while, and then almost beating out Villanova in that game just gave them all the confidence in the world that, we can go in and win these games and have a shot at this thing. And I think that just plays into, our confidence in going in this weekend. We're not just going in hoping to win a game or, maybe try to play as long as we can. But I think our mentality is like, hey, we come in, we play our best, we get great pitching in the circle and good defense, and we can get some timely hitting. Maybe that'll lead to us getting through this, and we can live the fight one more week and, be able to stay together and play one more week next week in a super regional.
Can you put into words what Courtney Coppersmith has meant to your program over these years?
Yeah, she's just an outstanding, human being, outstanding player. She's, her work ethic and just the amount of time and detail she puts into anything in her life, whether it be academics, whether it be, in the circle, on the field, hitting, whatever, just takes her and, a lot of people around her to another level. And, right now she's probably pitching as well as since she's been here. And, she's definitely helped elevate this program to another level for sure. And we're just excited to, see how she can do this weekend against some of the top teams in the nation once again, and hopefully, help us win a few games there.
No doubt. I mean, is it? And again, I know you got an entire team. It's not just one player, so I want to make that abundantly clear. But do you almost feel like, given everything she's accomplished, that like she in particular deserves that opportunity to win a game? And I don't want this to come off too much like win one for the Gipper or that type of situation. You know what I mean? But do you know what I'm saying? Like that of everyone in the country, maybe no one deserves to win an NCAA tournament game more than Courtney Coppersmith does.
I 100% agree with you, man. Yeah, she as much as she's blood, sweat, and tears she's put into this, this program and everything, just like everyone in this program, she's put just as much, if not more, into it as well. And she deserves it. The seniors deserve it. We deserve what we hopefully can get at least one, if not 2, 3, 4 wins, here going forward, and really put a nice little cap on what potentially could be her last season here and the last season of a lot of these seniors. So that's what we're striving for, man. We've been working our butts off since August, and this is the gift at the end. So we'll see what happens.
Just one more on Courtney, if I could, Coach, because she opened up about mental health, and it was really powerful. And I think a lot of people are familiar with some of the stories the other athletes, prominent athletes, have gone through during the course of the last year and in tragic situations. How much did it mean to you to see her open up the way that she did? And as you talk about the type of person she is, I mean, like, how much does that lift everyone else up to see someone who's willing to sort of bare their soul the way that Courtney did?
Yeah, I'm awfully proud of her. It takes a brave person to step out of the shadows like that and, like, basically just tell their story and just the demons that they were fighting and everything, and be able to do that in such a public, setting with the Jackie Robinson Award, with just the things that she's been doing, whether it's in our department, with the American East, just on social media, anything. It takes a brave person to do that, and she's been a massive advocate for all student athletes at our school, everybody in our conference, just around the nation itself. I mean, I'm very proud of her. It was scary to read that, that essay that she wrote a few years back, not knowing a lot of the, things she was dealing with internally. And, you see a happy, just go lucky, dancing on the mound, striking people out kid, and having fun doing it, and having, smiling all the time, being around great teammates. But then you read that and you're like, you have no idea. You just it just shows you just never know what people are going through, internally inside, and they keep in. And I think for her it was very therapeutic, and that kind of helps her mental health, been able to fight for, for other people, be able to write this down and put it out there, and fight for fellow student athletes, and fight for, other people that are going through these issues, whether student athletes or not, just a regular student population, in general. So awfully proud of her, and she, I know after she gets out of here, it would be, whether it's next year, next year, whatever, it'll be it'll be someone that will continue to fight for, be an advocate for the mental health of our student athletes, and wherever she, whether it's here or across the country still.
That's incredible. How much does it help to have another pitcher step up, Coach, and a freshman in Kaya Matter, who's been not too bad when you got two pitchers who can both pitch to a sub-1 ERA all season, right?
Yeah, and that helps a little bit. Yeah, she stepped into a role and just took off with it. Kaya is like, you would never think that she was a freshman, the way she just approaches her just what she does every day, whether it's in practice, it's on the mound. You would never know she's a freshman. She never gets rattled. She'll come off the field sometimes and be like, oh, well, they got a hit. Just come into the dugout. And she gets herself into jams, and she just gets herself out of jams. She comes off the field. She goes, Coach, I got myself into it. I'm going to get myself out of it.
Wow.
And, she just has another great mentality. And it's like her being around her, Courtney, our other pitchers, Maddie Leach, Jillian McCarthy, and Madison Oberg, all these guys are, great in their own ways. And they all bring a lot to the table, but being around her, her as a freshman, being around all of them and taking a little bit from each of them has definitely turned her into the person, the pitcher and everything that she is today. So it's definitely great to have some great depth with her and doing so well she is this year. And we're very confident in her and like the rest of our staff going into this regional.
What have you learned from these past trips that maybe you do differently this time around, or like, is there anything that you say, hey, maybe I thought we were a little bit too tight? Like, can you take anything from the past? Or, I know a lot of coaches, hey, new team, we don't even think about any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you use that information and that experience to be better suited this time going down to Duke?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like, when you look at this team and look at just how we're built way differently than we have in the past. Even though we have a lot of older kids in our program who've given so much to this program and have played a lot this year. We're just built differently this year. And I think just the way we've played all year and just dominating people, it just seems like left and right, just with great pitching, great defense, and, getting timely hitting and really great hitting up and down the lineup for the majority of the year. We might have hit a little bit of a little bump the last few weeks where we haven't been producing as much as we had. But, it's just, like I said earlier, it's the maturity level. You just look at them, and you don't have to say a lot. It's like, hey, you know what? This year, I can see in your eyes, I see in your preparation, just like when we approach practices, that they're just ready. They're ready to go, compete against everybody. They know they deserve to be on this stage. They know that they're the best team in the American East Conference, and they want to represent this conference, represent this school, and go out there on a national stage and prove it.
I mean, are you willing to put, like, so I feel like what would be appropriate with you guys going and playing Duke is that winning school gets to keep the Coach K moniker, is the way that I feel, right? I don't know how you feel about this, but, like, what I feel is if you guys win, then they're never allowed to call that guy Coach K ever again, because you're the only Coach K that matters. And I guess if somehow they win, then maybe, being as gracious as you are, you'll allow him to still be known as Coach K, despite the fact that you're the better one, you're the more important one, right?
I agree with that, but he's done okay for himself. I guess we can, like winner take all on the title, and I'll tell you what, if we win, we get to take the Shazetsky Phil sign back up to Baltimore with us, put it outside the field, and all that stuff.
There's nothing in my life that I know how to do better than hate Duke. So this is perfect for me, Coach. This is perfect for me that you guys end up playing them, because this is like I'll be happy for you no matter who you beat, right? But if it's them, I might go streaking. I'm just being warning you right now. Like, it might be the happiest I've ever been in my life if you guys pull this off tomorrow. Would be the case.
We'll do our best for you, man.
Let's finish it this way. You guys will have a successful weekend if blank. Just finish the blank. If we do this, we're gonna have a successful weekend in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think if we have a successful weekend and we are standing in Championship Sunday, it's because offensively we're aggressive. We're able to string together hits, score through runs for our pitchers. And when our pitchers get themselves in a little bit of trouble, maybe they're, getting a few hitters on here and there, that our defense doesn't let our pitchers and our defense both don't let it snowball, and just make the routine plays and routine throws, and just make sure that we're limiting the damage as much as possible. And hopefully by the end of it, that's going to be enough.
We are rooting like hell for you guys, Coach. Good luck. Let's go do this. How about we go win a national championship, huh? I don't want to, let's not go too crazy, but I feel like that's not unreasonable, right?
No, not at all. You know what? It's we're in the running. We're the last 64
teams
standing, one of them, and you know what? Might as well dream big and just kind of take it one game at a time and just kind of see where everything takes us.
Coach, congratulations on another America East title, being back, and the foundation that you have built for this program, man. It's remarkable. Thank you for taking the time for us, and best of luck this weekend, all right?
Hey, thank you so much, Glenn. Appreciate your support, and let's go Retrievers. Let's beat Duke.
No doubt. Coach Chris Kuhlmeyer checking in with us here on GCR as they get ready to take on Duke tomorrow in the NCAA tournament. Wishing them well. They've been incredibly successful. Third trip to the NCAA tournament. It's third straight. There was, of course, the 2020 COVID year in there, but it's the third straight trip to the NCAA tournament for the Retrievers. And now they look to take a step forward. So that is it's good stuff. And, of course, you root like hell for them to get that done this weekend. Hey, today is actually the quarterfinal day in the NCAA Women's Lacrosse Tournament. The games throughout the day, so 4 games starting at noon to set up who reaches the semifinals next weekend here in Baltimore. So it's Maryland's playing in the first game today, and then Loyola's playing in the second game today in the 4 quarterfinal matchups in the NCAA Women's Lacrosse Tournament. We'll share more about that when we get to Totally Tubular here in a bit. But today is quarterfinal day in the women's tournament. Of course, in the men's tournament, quarterfinals are Saturday and Sunday. And this is the final weekend as far as spring sports are concerned. This is the final weekend of the regular season for Maryland baseball, who is inching closer to really having a chance to host the regional that first weekend, as they have continued to sort of dominate in the Big Ten. Next weekend will be the Big Ten tournament, and then on Memorial Day they will announce the brackets and the say brackets. It's always a little bit weirder in baseball because you do the regionals, but they'll announce the field for the NCAA tournament on Memorial Day, as college sports season is coming to a close in the coming weeks. As we wind down for hour number 1 of today's show from Dave. Dave says, Glenn, yesterday you were asking why it is that the Orioles would want to make the Adley-Rutschman thing a surprise, and in general, I agree with you. I guess my question would become, is it really a surprise if they announce it just one day ahead of time? I feel like one day is more than enough time for people to make their plans. I know what you're saying about people that want to travel in, but how much can you really work around those folks anyway? I don't think you can capitulate as an organization simply to those who want to travel up from, say, North Carolina. I feel like there would be people that want to travel in for just about any game. That's not true, Dave. We know this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to stop you. This is a unique game. This is a unique circumstance. And as I keep saying, the Orioles don't owe it to anyone to give as much heads up as possible, but it's just better for everyone. Those are two different things. It's like when we are obsessed with playing the blame game in this country. Instead of solving a problem, we just blame, well, this is the Democrats' fault. This is the Republicans' fault. I don't give a flying F whose fault it is. I just want it fixed. I don't care how we got to this point with baby formula. Just make sure that everybody can get the damn baby formula. But we're so obsessed with blame and fault and all of this crap that we miss out. The Orioles don't owe it to anyone to say anything about Adley-Rutschman. They don't. But it doesn't make it a good thing either. They don't owe me a damn thing. But in the same way, I don't owe it to them to purchase tickets. This is the way the relationship goes. And if they want me to purchase tickets, it would be a good thing to try to meet me in the middle. I have 2 kids. If the game were to be tomorrow night, I would have to make sure that my wife can watch the kids and is okay with that. And I would have to make sure that she didn't make other plans and all of those things. And while that's, yes, something that I can probably do, I could probably still pull off going to the game tomorrow night. There's the possibility that she made plans. There is the possibility that she has something else that she's interested in doing. And those thoughts are even more significant for other people. Trying to meet someone in the middle, trying to work with them, trying to help them, give them the best chance in order to make it out to an event that you know they want to come to is a good thing. It's not worth obsessing over whether or not they have the obligation to do it. It's not worth obsessing over whose fault something is. We fight about fault and blame, and it's so stupid. It's in our DNA. It's why we get defensive when someone points something out. We can't just say, hey, I screwed up. I'm sorry. My bad. I screwed up. How do I fix it? So, as much information as possible. And 24 hours is not as much information as possible. Doesn't mean they won't do it. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Just not ideal. That's all. All right, we begin hour number 2 of the program. Our next guest is going to be back in town. He's going to be at the Meyerhoff on Monday night as we learned that this event celebrating the 2000 Baltimore Ravens is going to be in part for an upcoming 30 for 30 that ESPN and NFL Films are doing, celebrating that first Super Bowl champion team. It's always a pleasure for us to welcome back Coach Brian Billick to GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. I hope you're well. Thank you for taking the time for us as always.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Hey, Coach, who is going to be the surprise breakout star of this 30 for 30? We know Tony's personality. We know Shannon Sharp's personality. Who is it that maybe, unless you were really around the team every day, you don't know is going to be someone that everybody's going to be loving when we get to this 30 for 30?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. You know, we had so many characters. I always said that team was, it was full of characters, but it was also full of character. And obviously, and then the following year when we did the Hard Knocks is what really brought into focus those personalities that were all such a part of the previous year in terms of the Ravens. I don't know. That's a tough one. You know, guys like Michael McCrary, Peter Boulware, they were guys that because, you know, Shannon and Goose and the like tended to gobble up and myself probably included, gobbled up all the air in the room. But those are guys that had a lot of personality. The guys loved playing with them, a lot of energy. And particularly as we were closing into the playoffs, because they both had been around long enough and recognized what an opportunity it was. So, maybe McCrary and Boulware, but there were plenty of characters to go around.
Coach, are you excited? And I ask this question because obviously this is going to celebrate that team, this 30 for 30. But you know how these films go, that there's always got to be a measure of controversy that's involved, something that they use to try to grit people and get them to watch. Are you excited about seeing your team get the 30 for 30 treatment, or is there a party that's sort of like, you know, man, this is 22 years ago. I'm kind of good at this point. I don't need to revisit or rehash any ounce of controversy that played out during the course of the year. Where are you, just big picture with this?
Well, it is what it is. It is a part of our history. It was obviously a glorious part and such an unexpected part of it. You know, like every team, there's going to be some drama. Whatever they choose to focus on, we've already been through it.
Yeah.
The fact that the Ravens are supporting it and helping orchestrate it to the degree they are, they obviously are comfortable with the tone that they're going to take. And you're right, there's any number of issues from Ray's situation going into the month where we didn't score an offensive touchdown. But those are all things that honestly we overcame and made us stronger. They're part of the reasons I think we came together as a championship team. So, I think it'll be great to revisit it. I'll be interested to see what take they take on it.
There is the thing that everybody that said, I heard from multiple people this week that said the one thing I want from this 30 for 30 is I want to know that there's video of the locker room in Nashville and that we're finally going to get to see it. So I guess this is a two-part question. One, do you know whether there is or isn't video of the locker room? Because I know you didn't want there to be. And if there is, are you okay with us finally getting to see it at this point?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I wasn't aware of that. I think there is video of it. I think it has been out there.
I know, like we've heard it before, right? Like, have we ever seen a camera inside the locker room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it was my kicking down the door and going after or they're holding up the Sports Illustrated cover with the team. Yeah, I can't imagine that's not going to be there because I have seen that video before.
All right. So that I believe will be most people's favorite part of this entire. At least here in Baltimore, it'll be most people's favorite part of this entire thing. Were you at all trepidatious when you found out the project was happening? Like, were you gung ho and said, "Hey, man, anything you need, I'm for it"?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, because you're celebrating a great achievement by the organization. Like I said, everything has already been hashed and rehashed. The hard knocks after the championship that revisited and did all of that as well in a way that few teams have already had it documented. For some teams, that may be new. Some of the stuff that could come out may be new for a lot of people. Maybe didn't realize it happened in their Super Bowl year, but because of the hard knocks following our Super Bowl year, we were, there was no stone unturned, and we covered just about every aspect, good and bad, of what that entailed. So I don't know that there's going to be anything newsworthy coming out of this. It will remind some people of it, and like I said, for the most part, I think it's all good stuff.
Where is your relationship with Trent at this point? I know you guys both talked to ESPN around the anniversary. Where is your guys' relationship at this point, Coach?
I haven't talked to Trent in a while. The last time, Trent and I have talked several times since then. That was obviously a very difficult time afterwards.
Yep.
But I think it's, I'm not going to say we're buddies or anything,
right.
But we both professionally understand what went down. He's doing a great job high school coaching now. And we interact with him a little bit via my pad company, the X-Tech pads that we do. But he's a very successful high school coach. I've always said Trent would be a great coach at any level if he chose to do so. But it'll be interesting. And Trent, you talk about the personalities, the unsung, and I've said it a million times. Trent was the perfect quarterback for us, for that team. I don't know that we would have accomplished what we did without that proper mindset by that position that bought in totally to, hey, we're playing great defense. Let's run the ball. Let's try not turn the ball over. That kind of conservative that kind of goes against the grain of a quarterback.
Right.
He bought in 100% and was a huge part of why we were able to pull that off.
Obvious, as you know, everybody in Baltimore is through the roof. This event on Monday, is there anybody that you didn't get to see at the anniversary, or is there still anybody that you haven't seen in a while, or you haven't been able to catch up with that you need to?
Oh, gosh, there's so many of the guys that you like. That's what I love about coming back to the Ring of Honor events, because you see so many of the guys. Obviously not living in the area, and as years pass on, it tends to get all diffused to a degree. But it's so great to see so many of the guys and the guys subsequent to it that are still even a part of that history. Guys like a Todd Heath that wasn't part of the Super Bowl team, but was a part of the Hard Knocks, and it kind of gets all rolled in together. It's fabulous. And that's one of the things I love about Baltimore. I think whether it goes back to the old Colt days or certainly in the Raven days, the affinity for the players, whether they live in the area or come back to the area, for the organization is there's not a lot of organizations, I think, that have that to the degree that the Ravens do.
All right, I'm gonna try to bleed one more out. Then I just want to talk some football with you if I could. I don't even remember if I told you this, but around the anniversary, I just decided to up and call Tony Banks because I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and Tony's definitely was still not over it 20 years later. Like, he still had an amount of bitterness to it. Have you talked to Tony at all? And did you know that? Like, he kind of admitted he wasn't really even rooting for you guys to win down the stretch that season.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, it was a tough circumstance. And like I said, Tony, and you got to remember how well Tony was playing prior to that stint, that game against Jacksonville. And, I mean, Tony was playing well. But you also have to remember how he wasn't playing well.
Right.
And given the way we were going to win, the turnovers was going to be the Achilles heel. We could play great defense. We were going to run the ball, but to win with those tight margins, you got to be +1 or 2 in the turnovers, which we ended up being, leading the league in turnover differential. And that was the difficulty. But certainly understand how tough that was for Tony to not only to have to, anytime you have to pull a quarterback and you go with the other guy, but then for that team to then go on the run that we did. That's double insult to injury, and that you can certainly understand why that was so tough for Tony.
All right, so the Ravens are holding a press conference today. We don't know what it's about, Coach, but there are a lot of people that think it might be related to Sam Cook, and one way or another, after the Ravens drafted a punter, whether that's what it is today or not, the likelihood is that Sam Cook has probably made his last punt in the Baltimore Ravens uniform, and this is kind of a wild moment, right? Because it's the last sort of bastion to the Brian Billick era of Baltimore Ravens football. Can you take me back to when Sam arrived and what you guys thought you had and what it's meant to you to see the career that he's ended up having?
Oh, it's phenomenal. And no one could have anticipated. I mean, we ended up taking a good punter, but Sam ended up, and when you look at the career that he's had, I mean, I would definitely say this is Hall of Fame level. I mean, when you look at the longevity, the impact, because we always talked about, particularly in the way prior to Lamar, the way the Ravens had won primarily with the defense and the scoring differential and the whatever, and you always focus on the kickers, and what a great run of kickers that Baltimore's had, beginning with Matt and then obviously moving on. But the punting, and whether it goes back to Kyle Richardson or Sam Cook, that combination, I don't think people fully realize how important Kyle Richardson and Sam Cook were to the total dynamic, not only in our teams, but even afterwards, for the success of that team. Absolutely huge. And to have the run of punters that we had in Baltimore and kickers is unprecedented. And I like I said, I think Sam is as hard as it is from that position, is legitimately Hall of Fame material at the punter position.
I think people miss that he completely revitalized the way that punting was known. I mean, like this golf bag thing that he did, and as you know, Coach, I feel like people probably with punting only ever see, hey, are you booming the ball 80 yards? That's what gets our attention. Otherwise, it's punting. Right. We don't care. And a lot of people have missed throughout football how he changed the concept of punting by having so many different punts that he could go to given the circumstance.
Well, and that goes back to my comment that when you look at those that go into the Hall of Fame, there's all different. I mean, you can have just the sheer stats and the volume of your play. But for some, it's also, did you define John Lynch is a perfect example, is the most recent one. John, of course, was at Stanford as well. But John went in my opinion, because he kind of redefined the position. Mm-hmm. Well, dropping a guy in the box and that type of thing. Well, absolutely. That's why I say I think Sam Cook is a Hall of Fame candidate, because he did change the game at that position. That's the ultimate definition of a Hall of Fame player.
Look, unfortunately, it's so extraordinarily difficult that I don't think it's going to happen. But I hear every level of your argument, and I do think that it's been vastly undertold what Sam Cook has meant, to this franchise, and just how consistently good he has been for such a long time. Coach, you're not going to believe this. Just another minute or two here with Coach Billick. We're talking about wide receiver again in Baltimore. I know it's very unlike us. It's something you and I have never talked about before in our history. The Ravens have 4 wide receivers with NFL experience on their roster right now, and they've combined all 4 of them for a total of 1,227 yards in their career. And we know they have a hell of a tight end, and we know that they're going to want to run the ball, and they're going to be a run-dominant offense. But would you be concerned about that little experience and, frankly, that little depth, right? I mean, this is a 17-game season. Somebody's getting hurt. Would you be concerned about that, even knowing the importance of Mark Andrews in the run game to this offense?
Yeah, and they're going to address that. There's a lot of moves left to be made and people to come in to fill that position. And when you ask how many years have we talked about this, right, and that with all the brilliant drafting and personnel moves that the Ravens have made since the beginning, that's probably the one position, particularly from the drafting standpoint, that has been, a little bit of an Achilles heel. But they've always seemed to then fill in with other receivers, veteran guys that come in. If this were a younger, new Lamar Jackson, I would be concerned with that. But I think Lamar's reached that level that whoever they bring in, he will develop a relationship and find a way to get the ball to them in a way that augments their offense. You're right. It's going to be the running game. It's going to get the ball to Andrews. No question about that. But you still need to balance that with some of the down the field throws, that ability to take the top off the defense. So, yes, it is a concern. I think it's something they'll address. It's not like there's going to be some Hall of Famer they're going to bring in here. And they'll continue to try to address it via the draft, and hopefully they can get someone that can stick for a while and impact that position. But given the profile of the team the way they are right now, yeah, it's a concern, but I don't think it's not time to panic. Let's put it that way.
You know, the irony of you saying what you just said, there is a Hall of Famer who's out there. Would you still take a chance on a Julio Jones at this point, or? Is there just too much risk involved at this point for you to have any amount of confidence that he could get on the field and help you?
Well, he's an incredible player. I got to know Julio well when he was in Atlanta. Of course, Mike Smith
was
the head coach there, and my brother-in-law, and when I was doing games for Fox. And what a tremendous talent. Now, where Julio is physically, and he's had these foot issues for a while now. He had them back even then. So the prognosis going forward was when was it going to be too much? When was the foot going to be too much? And it goes back to, so what are you asking? What's his role? How much does he have to play? He's not going to be a 65-snap guy.
Right.
And particularly when you're talking about big-body receivers like he was, that you tend to wear down a little bit quicker than some of the smaller, faster guys. So that's certainly a factor. He could certainly help the team, but in what role, how many snaps? What's the condition? Because there's no question the talent is there, but what condition is the foot in?
How's everything out in Arizona? How much time have you been spending out that way, and have you been having fun with it?
Yeah, fair amount. Yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Of course, Marvin's out there as well, and been back and forth, and it's interesting. This NIL and portal stuff has changed the entire landscape of college football, and not for the better, in my opinion, but it is what it is. We picked up a quarterback in Emory Jones from Florida that I'm really excited about. Still in the process. So the team, oddly enough, we're talking about a college team. It feels a little like just what we're talking about in the pro team is you're not done piecing the team together, which is kind of odd for the college game.
Sure.
But it is what it is, and kind of excited about it.
Coach, it's, of course, at Coach Billick. I'm going to leave you with this because I got a message from Dave as we were talking about it, who said, I saw that Coach is on Cameo. Is there any chance that if I buy a Cameo from Coach Billick, I could get him to say F the Titans in it? So I'll put that to you.
Boy. That's a good. Well, it depends on what the price is. Shaq Harris always used to say, "Everybody's got a price. We're about to find out what yours is." But now that one might be. My wife might get after me about that one.
All right.
Those have been fun. Those Cameo things are kind of fun because fans reach out and you can wish them happy birthday and whatever. And it's been a fun deal.
I'm sure you get plenty of Ravens fans. Do you get like Steelers fans who want you to mess with their, like a friend of them, and do you get stuff like that?
No, I don't know. And for the most part,
okay.
I run into a lot of that, obviously,
sure,
as I go around, which has been fun.
Yeah.
But no, mostly it's good Ravens fan that want to celebrate a birthday or their father's birthday or some achievement, maybe business-wise, they've closed a big deal or something. It's been kind of fun. They reach out, and I do a couple I do 3 or 4 a month, and it's always great to hear from the Ravens fans.
We'll look forward to seeing you on Monday night, and obviously we're all looking forward to the 30 for 30. Coach, always appreciate taking the time for us. Thanks for doing it. Coach Brian Billick checking in with us here on GCR. I feel like I've never seen the video we've all heard the audio that somebody recorded from outside the locker room in Tennessee. I don't feel like I've ever seen the video, and that was brought up to me by a couple people this week. I don't feel like I've ever seen a camera inside the locker room from that day in Nashville when Brian Billick said, they say remember the Titans, I say F the Titans.
I've never even heard him say that.
Oh, that's famous, man. That's on you. That's not a good look for you. That's a famous moment in Ravens history. Maybe I'm just crazy. Again, at some point, it might have. This video that went around last week. Have you seen the Rex Ryan video that went around? No. Oh, I will have you pull that up in a second. Griffin, you're familiar?
Yeah, I saw the Rex Ryan.
Well, this might be the reason why there is a Ravens 30 for 30 happening, by the way. This might be the case. I'll get it to you during break. But I don't think I've ever actually seen that video. So if they've got that certainly would be a hook for the 30 for 30 for Ravens fans to actually see it from inside the locker room. All right, when we come back in, ironic that Coach brought it up, I'm going to talk about what Nick Saban had to say about Texas A&M and NIL and all that stuff last night. It was bombastic, to say the least. We will discuss that. And if you have not heard this clip of Rex Ryan, which resurfaced about a week ago, and I didn't see it at first. It was some Bengals writer that found it, shared it, and didn't get a lot of play. And then somebody else reshared it yesterday, and it was the first time I had seen it. And I was like, what the F is this? And I don't know anything of the history of it, but it is hilarious. We'll share that with you as well. It's all on the way. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, O's fans, 2022 Orioles single-game tickets are on sale now. Come celebrate the 30th anniversary of Oriole Park at Camden Yards with tickets starting as low as $10. Relive your favorite moments and make new memories this season. Choose from your favorite homestands when the O's take on the New York Yankees, Washington Nationals, and Boston Red Sox, or fan-favorite giveaways like Birdland Hawaiian shirt and collectible bobbleheads. Experience the ballpark that forever changed baseball. Buy now at Orioles.com/tickets.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack Sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jack. This menu will be gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcasts. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we get ready for Weekend at Bookies coming up in just a few minutes. That's a different thing altogether. Let's try something else. Couple of things. One, I promised this. I have no idea where this video comes from. I know none of the details other than it's clearly Rex Ryan in a Ravens shirt doing some sort of video from the old facility at Stevenson University, the old Villa Julie College, where Mustang Stadium now sits. He's on the field at the old practice facility filming some sort of video, And why it got to this place, I have no earthly idea, but it did. Here's a thought today from Rex Ryan.
It's like that old man you see in the park. You know what I'm talking about, the guy that's over there jerking off. It looks bad to everybody else, but feels good to him.
So there you go.
It's like that old...
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can let it run again. You can, sure, why not? Let it run again.
You see in the park. You know what I'm talking about, the guy that's over there jerking off. It looks bad to everybody else, but feels good to him.
Right. Right. It's a story as old as time. What is the context of that? Doesn't matter.
He's holding up a whiteboard with X and O's on it. So
he's doing something. They were clearly filming this. This was not. He didn't get caught saying something. He purposely said this as he was making some sort of video. Was it internal? Was it external? I genuinely don't know. I don't have any recollection of this.
Is this from Hard Knocks?
Maybe. I don't remember.
I think it's. I mean, we're all pretty aware that Rex Ryan's a pretty weird guy.
What are you talking about? What indication do we have of that at all? What are you talking about? I don't know, man. I don't remember any ounce of this. But really weird that video was resurfaced just a couple of weeks ago, and not long after that, they announced a 30 for 30 about the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Just kind of weird how that all played out. Don't know what to make of it, but it's out there. So there's the thought from Rex today. It looks bad to everybody else, but feels good to him. Maybe he was comparing it to them winning games ugly. Maybe it was a really weird comparison made to, hey, yeah, we're winning all these games 9-6. They don't look so great to everybody else, but it feels good to us. I don't know. I could not tell you how we got to that place. And I kind of prefer to not know. Like, I feel like I don't want to know what the comparison was that Rex was trying to make.
He says, you know the guy I'm talking
about. Yeah,
everybody.
We've all been there watching an old man jerk off in a park. Like, what? What? What do you mean? What do you mean? You know what I'm talking about. Believe it or not, I have never witnessed an old man jerk off in a park. I know. I mean, maybe that's just a sad part of my life that I've never been able to experience that. But there's some thoughts from Rex this morning. I literally have no. And again, I think I've decided I don't want the context. I don't want to know what it is that he was trying to say that he decided to go that route.
Maybe like a corner blitz or something. Like he's talking about just.
Whatever it is, I just feel like it's actually going to disappoint me when I get the answer. I feel like I would just prefer to not know. Just sort of allow this to live, that Rex Ryan one day really wanted to talk about an old man jerking off in a park for some reason. Like, that's the end of it. That's sort of what I feel about it. All right, so there's that. Now, by the way, if you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box, it is still available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms. There are hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all. PressBoxOnline.com, of course, on the cover. That's Adley Rutschman. The question has been asked, did we give the Adley Rutschman curse by putting him on the cover, assuming he was going to be here, and now he's not here? I don't know, but I hope not. Luke Jackson wrote a wonderful story about the soon-to-be, we think, Orioles catcher. You can find it right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. An unbelievable 24 hours in the world of college football. Last night, Nick Saban spoke at an event. It's a 7-minute lengthy clip. I'm not gonna bother to share the entire thing, but some of the particular highlights. Mike Rodak, who covers Alabama football for AL.com, was at this event that both Nick Saban and Nate Oates spoke at, and he tweeted out some of the highlights. They include, Nick Saban says 25 players on Alabama last season earned NIL revenue totaling $3 million and did it, quote, the right way, unquote. Next, Saban, we were second in recruiting last year. A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team, made a deal for name, image, and likeness. We didn't buy one player, but I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it. He goes on. Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper. They bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it. He went on and on and on and on and on and on. Deion Sanders has come out and condemned, of course, the coach at Jackson State, condemned, calling it a lie that they paid, and I'm trying to remember what the young man's name was. I think we all remember the story. Travis Hunter. It was a lie that Jackson State paid him the money. I remember correctly when the announcement was made on National Signing Day, the belief was that Barstool Sports had been the one that was paying the money because they have a relationship with Deion Sanders, and so that's where the NIL money was coming from. Today, Jimbo Fisher held a press conference, and those that heard it would probably have described it as a bit unhinged. Some of the quotes: "It's despicable that a reputable head coach could say it," and called Nick Saban a, quote, narcissist. "It's a shame that we have to do this. It's really despicable." He said that Saban was taking shots at 17-year-old kids and that no rules were broken. "It's despicable that we have to sit here at this level of ball and say these things to defend the people of this organization, the kids, 17-year-old kids and their family. Some people think they're God. We build him up to be the czar of football. Go dig into his past." Called Nick Saban a grown man who is pouting. Quote, "When people show you who they are, believe them. He's showing you who he is," unquote. Apparently, Nick Saban attempted to call Jimbo Fisher today, and Jimbo Fisher ignored the call, saying, quote, "We're done," unquote. Fisher said there is a reason he has not worked with Saban since LSU. Quote, "I don't want to be associated with him," unquote. This is explosive S over the course of the last 24 hours. What this comes down to is quite simple. Nick Saban is bothered by the fact that there is now a system that allows things to be sorted out a bit more equitably than the system that existed beforehand, in which, because he was the coach at Alabama, he could just get all of the talent and he could just rule the roost. And much like at some point Mike Krzyzewski believed that he knew what was better for college basketball than everybody else did, Nick Saban clearly believes that he knows what's best for college football more than everyone else does. It's a joke. I get it. There are a lot of... Brian Billick just said he doesn't like it. A lot of people don't like this system for two reasons. Either A, and I'd like to choose that it's a smaller group of people that fall in part A than part B, but the group A is the group of people that are probably racist, but at the very least, people who don't want to see any more power transfer from one side to another, that have held all of the power for as long as they've known it, and they don't want to see the power. And then there's a secondary group of people that has a problem with it, and that secondary group of people just realized their job got more difficult. That is a harder job to do. I want to make it abundantly clear. There is no actual problem that exists in relation to NIL or the transfer portal. No actual problem exists. There is still the exact same amount of talent coming into the sport. There is still the exact same number of people that are playing. One school cannot get all of the players because their boosters are willing to pay more. That's not a real thing. No one school can take up, I mean, how many, there's 130 some Division I programs, and they all have about 100 players on their roster, so we're talking about 13,000 or so Division I football players. No one school can put 13,000 Division I football players on their roster. That's not possible. And all of those schools deal with the same problems. A kid came there, found out that he was recruited over, is unhappy, now he wants to transfer. As Mike Loxley has said a time or two, the transfer portal taketh and the transfer portal giveth. Yes, you might lose a player to the transfer portal, But you know what Maryland found in the transfer portal? The best quarterback they've had in 2 decades. Stop it. Nick Saban's mad because of one of 2 things, and I don't know which one it is. Either because his job is harder today than it was before, or because Nick Saban is somewhere between being a racist, which I would think it would be very difficult for Nick Saban, given everyone that he's worked with over the years, to have been a closet racist the entire time, although I get it. There's an amount of racism that exists that's sort of in the underbelly of everything. Or because he simply doesn't like a world in which power is shared. That in his world, the coach has always had all of the power. And the moment anyone else has any amount of power, that's problematic. Of course, it bleeds in to your job being more difficult. But the power and the power structure in not just organized sports, but in any organized culture, people in the world of religion don't like giving up power. Power it's money and power, right? Those are the 2 most important things somebody can have. And when players are making a lot of money, they're going to get more power. It's inevitable. That's okay. They're the reason why this exists. Because no one would tune in and watch Nick Saban play football today. But we tune in and watch high-level college athletes play football. There is no problem. The NCAA, for whatever insane reason, thinks they need to crack down on these NIL collectives or boosters that are involved with this, which is so insanely stupid. Because what if you're a booster that wants to use your business to try to get more kids to come to a school, but you're being told you can't do that by being a booster, but yet you still want to benefit the school, what do? You simply stop being a booster. Well, wait a second. I know how this works. I'll just not be a booster anymore. And I can still pay the kids whatever I want to come to the school that I care about, that I want to benefit at the end of the day. This is so stupid. We're trying so bloody hard. But nobody can actually define what the problem is. We can all say things like, well, I don't think I like this, or this isn't what this was supposed to be, or what is the actual problem? Be very specific. What is the actual problem in relation to NIL and the transfer portal? Well, kids have one bad day at practice and they want to transfer. Okay, is that a kid you want to have on your team? If they want to transfer after one bad day of practice, do you think that's a player that should be on your team? These things don't all work. There is no problem in college athletics. This is the thing we wanted. And fans might not love it because it might mean that there are players that they get to know one season and they're gone the following year. It's weird. That happens in professional sports all of the time. How long was Nelson Cruz in Baltimore?
1 year.
Did you stop being an Orioles fan when Nelson Cruz left Baltimore?
I did not.
Did you hate Nelson Cruz because he left Baltimore?
I did not.
It's amazing how this works. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. It's like we're just talking out of our ass. There is no problem at all in college sports. The jobs got more difficult. Now, what comes along with that is a lot of these coaches are very well compensated. Not all of them. If you're an assistant coach at Coppin State today, you're probably not terribly well compensated. I mean, you're more compensated than I am, than Griffin is, probably. I don't know. I'm going to guess. Definitely than Griffin. Maybe not than me. Probably more than me, honestly. You're compensated for the difficulty of the job. A lot of people have tough jobs. A lot of people have actually tough jobs, like digging ditches. You're not doing that. You're just having to deal with young people and their whims That's not a difficult job. It's just more difficult than it was 5 years ago. And I don't doubt that it is more difficult. I know it's more difficult. I've talked to coaches about how much more difficult it is. But that's the end of it. It's just more difficult. You strap in. You're going to be okay. Nate Oates. We've been out in front advertising a bunch of, you're still not supposed to be using it for recruiting. I think there's some people out there committing some violations that maybe are going to get in trouble, but we haven't done that. This is the inherent problem. The idea that there's a violation, that this wasn't the way the rule was supposed to be. You weren't supposed to have the schools helping out in the process of landing recruits. So, is that a bad thing? How it was supposed to be? It would seem to me that it would be a good thing that the school would be involved with who it is that you're connecting with in order to make money. That maybe the NCAA should reconsider why they don't want that. What is the problem here? Well, it just becomes glorified free agency. Yes, that's how sports work. That's how everything everywhere works. You know why Paul's taking a job at Super Mega Corp? Because they're going to pay him more. How is this hard? What are we struggling with? Nick Saban is mad because Nick Saban doesn't get to run college football any longer. Because a system was put into place that allowed another school to compete for the kids that he wanted. That he couldn't just be the Alabama coach. And yes, as everybody's pointed out, almost certainly Alabama has done plenty of things over the years that were not with the idea that every program has done everything by the book is nonsense. Bull S.
It just makes this so much more hypocritical.
It's a joke. But even if it was the case, this would still be a joke. But yes, there's no chance that that's actually the case. And there were a couple of people, the athletes that came out last night that had been recruited to Alabama in the past who were like, hey, buddy. I know some things. It's laughable. It's pathetic. College athletics are changing for the better. And by the way, the old system of college football allowed for all of 4 schools to have a chance at winning a national championship. Imagine that being the system that anybody thinks was better. I don't know that it'll be 10 that have a chance moving forward. But the old system didn't work. Period. There's nothing about it that's worth saving. Tidbit of the day, brought to you today by Glory Days Grill. Spring seasonal menu available at Glory Days Grill. The opener, the Korean #2 sauce on the flash-fried pork belly. The Cracker Jack sundae with the waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jacks. So much more available, but only for another 12 days at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in now.
All right, so yesterday we spent a lot of time, or a fair amount of time, considering it's a wall, talking about the new left field wall dimensions at Camden Yards and the problems that Aaron Judge and Aaron Boone seem to have with it. And then Trey Mancini chimed in also saying the hitters don't like it. And we were talking earlier this year when the wall first came about how we thought there were going to be more triples, yet the Orioles have only hit 2 triples in their home ballpark this season, and only one of them, Roof Net Odor, has been because of the new wall in left field. Did you know that the record for Orioles triples in a season in Camden Yards is 17, set in 2007?
Certainly did not.
And then they had 16 in 2019. I don't remember that many triples, but they had 16 triples.
What it sounds like is you don't want to hit triples because it's the bad teams that hit the triples.
Well, maybe.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, the Orioles' good teams, like 2014, they hit like 6 at home.
It sounds like you don't want to do that.
No.
Weird bit.
Yeah, in 1997, they hit 5 triples at home that whole season. Anywho, with that in mind, 3 Orioles have hit 11 triples or more in a season. Can you name them?
Probably not.
Sure you can.
Brady Anderson.
No.
And you would think it would be somebody quick.
His career high is like 7.
How many did you say there were?
3 players have hit 11 or more, tops out of 12.
Al Bumbry.
Al Bumbry hit 11 in 1973.
Paul Blair.
Paul Blair, the leader in the clubhouse, hit 12 in 1967. You have one left.
Robbie Alomar.
No.
Brian Roberts.
No.
Am I right to think it's got to be a top of the order type of guy?
He's when he was at his best, he hit in the top half of the lineup.
When he was at his best, he hit in the top half of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I mean, the third spot is the top half of the line. The fourth spot, the cleanup hitter, is the top half of the lineup. So that's not really.
It's safe to assume that this guy generally hit cleanup or higher.
It does.
Yeah, one.
You're doing anything but help. You're doing anything but. That's not helpful.
If I give you any hints,
it's 11:45. We got to wrap up. We're late getting.
He was
the
one
show.
of your favorite players of all time for the Orioles.
Mike Devereaux. I did not know that.
He had 11 triples.
I did not know that he had an 11 triple season. I did not know that.
Last year he had 24 homers and drove in over 100.
He had a hell of a season. All right, very good. Tubular brought to you by the Baltimore Police. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police. Make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good, bpdrecruit.org. Here's what's coming up, Totally Tubular. Again, in just a couple of minutes, at 12:30, Orioles wrap up the series with the Yankees trying to avoid the 4-game sweep. Bruce Zimmerman, Jordan Montgomery on Masson. MLB Network, Padres, Phillies at 1, Mariners, Red Sox at 7. Women's NCAA quarterfinals today. Florida, Maryland at noon, and Loyola Boston College at 2:30. Both those games on ESPNU. Big Ten Network Plus, Maryland and Purdue baseball at 6. The PGA Championship is on ESPN Plus right now. Moves to ESPN at 2 o'clock. Eastern Conference Finals, Game 2 tonight between the Celtics and the Heat at 8:30 on ESPN. The NBA Draft Combine at 5 o'clock on ESPN2. TNT for Lightning Panthers Game 2 at 7. Blues Avalanche Game 2 at 9:30. USA for Everton and Crystal Palace at 2:45. Anything non-sports-wise that sticks out?
Not a lot. The Law and Order stretch from 8 through 11 on NBC. You're going to have Milo Ventimiglia from your favorite show, This Is Us, on Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight. And then there's a new Netflix documentary, The Photographer, Murder in Pinamar.
Sure, if you say so. That's nothing for me. All right, very good. Very good. Thanks today to Brian Billick. Thanks also to Larry Collmus from NBC, as well as to UMBC softball coach Chris Kuhlmeyer. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. We don't have anything tomorrow, do we?
Not at the moment.
All right, great. We'll stuffing things, as always, coming up on the program tomorrow. Thanks to Griffin. We will be getting Griffin a little bit more situated here in the next couple days, as he will semi-take over on Monday. It'll be a soft launch for Griffin starting on Monday. Thanks to Paul at Paul Valley III. Thanks to Ryan at RecSpecs Ryan. Thanks to all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Baltimore Police, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday night. Yeah, it's Thursday. Go Birds, go Loyola and Maryland women. Duke sucks, Ohio State sucks too. If you are with us on video, give us a minute. We'll be back. If you're with us on audio, do nothing. Weekend at Bookies is coming up next.